Hey guys! In the last video, we have analyzed all of the images we've ever gotten for Silksong and categorized them by the areas that they are in. I highly suggest you watch that one first before going into this one, because now we will be placing all of these images onto the map of Silksong. And we're again joined by Stizzle.
Thanks for having me on, this is gonna be a ton of fun.
And by the way guys, if we pass Stizzle in subscribers, I'm giving away 10 copies of Silksong. So make sure to subscribe. Alright, let's get started. This is what we see in the trailer. And we see some skeletons. This looks like a rib cage over here. And then we make it with a bunch of birds flying around to this ominous bridge with, again, another rib cage right here and many bones sticking out, or claws or whatever that is. And then Stizzle goes berserk and breaks the bridge. And falls down. You can see the broken bridge here in the map. She falls all the way down to here. Then she's like, well, that sucks. And then we're in Moscato. Stizzle, I think you should take Moscato because you've analyzed the demo and I have not. I've just placed these somewhere.
Okay. Yes. So starting out, we got, of course, the starting room. You've got the cage there, we can all see that. And we've seen the room to the left as well often. It's got a little lake, it's got a little bone area we can swim underneath. Then we move up on the left side of it. That's cut off by the map, but it still exists. And move around here. I don't think, by the way, in this chute, the way we fall down, there's like this little area, this little hidden room, I guess.
Yeah, to the right?
No, a bit above.
To the left?
This one, yeah.
This one, yeah. Okay.
I don't think I've seen this. Maybe because people would like literally to fall down and then stay on the left. I don't think I've seen this one.
Me
to the right here, we've also got this, what was a weaver door. I'm gonna take a look this here and send it to Taco if I find it, what it looked like. But it could be a hidden area or another area behind it that we have to unlock later. But yeah, as we move through the demo, we got a little bench at a ruined chapel, and then we fight the Moss Mother next. Then after the Moss Mother fight, there's another, a little bit more ominous or like hidden locked door. And then we find this Churchkeeper NPC who's very nice and very kind, I assume. Teaches us how to do songs. And then there's this door to the right where we exit and get to this huge plane, which I believe will be in direct opposition of Bone Bottom, and we can just walk there. Maybe there's a few enemies or platforms there, but it's like this huge room. I think this might be like the biggest room from what we've seen. And get to Bone Bottom, which is the first town of the game.
First hub city.
First hub. And yeah, what's interesting is above Bone Bottom we have the rest of Moscato, and now we have to actually try and pinpoint the rest of Moscato, because as we can see, it's not that huge, you know? It might extend to the left there a bit, but there's also two other areas starting there, so it's hard to say. And so now all of the other Moscato images we put above Bone Bottom, where we fight this one guy that goes left to right. It would really fit with how this room seems to be laid out. And then just the other images kind of above it. And we also got this in the center, this very ominous structure that we see 3 times on the map.
Yes,
we see it here, we see it in Deep Docks.
Deep Docks and also
and in Shellwood.
In Shellwood up here. Right.
And I believe this to be Weaver abilities. I believe this to be where we unlock, for example, the dash. I think the first thing will be the dash. Should be the dash. And we might unlock this here, but we don't have an image for that, of course. And then Taco already puts the Moss Druid in a very fitting corner of Moscato. And yeah, I think that's all we have for Moscato here.
For here, I want to say this has the same shape as his house, and it could technically be a part of Bone Bottom, but it looks to be in a very remote area. And that's why I don't think it's in Bone Bottom, right? Because there's just not that much vegetation here.
We should also mention that there's another green area, the Clover Field area, Clover Grove maybe.
With all these clovers,
Could be to the right of this store I mentioned before. If it isn't to the right, it's probably still at the left bottommost corner, maybe
somewhere
underneath.
To the left of Moscato. Because it can't be up here, because in a different screenshot, we know that this is a grayish area, something called ways at the end. We don't know the full name of this area. And we put this guy here because he really doesn't fit anywhere else, except maybe in the Marrow, which we'll take a look at in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, we think this is a mid to late game area. This looks like a quite difficult enemy that you can only reach once you manage to get all the way up and into here. Okay, I think that's it. I want to get back to this for 1 second. You mentioned earlier when we were talking that it is probably something like this, right? A shrine that looks like this. And I do see that outline, you know, if you imagine this going way, way further down and this being lodged up in the ceiling. This does resemble the shape of this a lot. And also with all of these, with all three of these, there's a gap at the top. There's one right here, there's a gap at the top here, and a gap at the top right here. So it will make sense for this. You see the same
something
shape,
happens here.
right?
Something has to happen here, you know?
And something big happens, and potentially we get an ability. That's a great shout, I think. Now let's get into the Marrow. I think that we have a stag station, I'm just gonna call it, with the Bell Beast here. Not in here, but right next to it here with Bone Bottom. And due to it being right next to the Marrow, it's already quite, you know, has the same color scheme as the Marrow. You can see some bones here in the background. That's what makes the most sense to me, because there is no stag station in the Marrow itself, at least from what we can tell at this point. Then next we have Chakra sitting somewhere in the Marrow. So the Marrow, in my mind, is an area with a lot of bone marrow, a lot of bones. That's where the name, I believe, comes from. And there's a ton of bones here, as you can see. And she's just sitting here. Could be anywhere in the Marrow, really. But I think it's someplace a little bit further into it. And yeah, that's why I put it here. Would you put that one somewhere different?
I'm not sure, you know, we've got so many like little rooms here. What I do want to mention real quick is that at the bottom of the Marrow, we actually have something that's water adjacent. I never noticed that.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Why would there be water? Maybe it's lava, you know, because we're next to the deep docks and there's lava. Obviously,
yeah.
This looks like water, but it's lava. I think that makes the most sense. One thing I just noticed is there's bells here. And the bells might be somewhere near Bellhart. So maybe I would put this even a little bit further up here-ish. This is where we see this enemy, maybe for the first, maybe for the second time. And I'm pretty sure it's there because we have these bones. And they almost perfectly resemble the shape of this right here.
Yeah. I do think that this is like maybe a layer of sorts. Maybe this is also one of the first instances of like a hunting quest, a grand hunt.
Right.
With Bone Bottom being like, oh, this boss always keeps attacking us. Can you go to its lair and slay it?
Right, because it attacks people at Bone Bottom, obviously, which we saw in one of the trailers. Right. Next up, which I'm pretty certain about, is us meeting Sherma here. I'm pretty darn sure it's in the Marrow because you can see all of the bones in the background. And I'm relatively sure it's close to the deep docks because we see some resemblance of red color and some fire flying across here. So it could technically be here, but I'm thinking it might be here because, in my opinion, the way this area will work is we'll go somewhere to the right-ish, then we'll go up, maybe fight this guy, go to the bench, go further up, maybe go left, maybe go right. And then once we finally make our way to here, this bench, we can unlock this lever so that we can go back and the next time go through again.
Yeah, this seems to be a way back, or like a shortcut, so to speak. Yeah, I also think that's around here, I reckon, yeah.
Then another one, there's a small little settlement, which I'm pretty sure is in the Marrow also because of the ground being made up of bones, a lot of bones here, a lot of bones in the background. And it seems like it's a little bit off the beaten trail. That's why I put it up somewhere in here.
I can see that. I mean, That's also something, you know, we've got so many cities in Silksong and so many larger encampments. If there's nothing like signed on the map, can it still be like an unnamed encampment?
I think it's so small that it could be, yeah.
I'm unsure, but it could be. Zoom in on it again a bit. I want to see.
It also has these similar horns atop of the tent,
kind of,
and atop these sticks, I'm just gonna call it. And that's also similar to Bone Bottom. So it makes sense that it would be somewhere near Bone Bottom. Maybe they went into the Marrow, then got lost and had to put their settlement there. That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe there's a boss up ahead and they can't get past it, so they were like, well, might as well.
Right. Next up we have this image. This we've been very conflicted about. Because this could be in a lot of different places. These platforms here look very distinctive and also very different to the Marrow, which is basically just bones everywhere. So I'm thinking this might be entirely different.
Finally, I found the fucking door. Was the 5th video I've watched.
Okay, oh, I see. You found the door over here. Okay, let's take a look.
That's what it looks like in the demo.
This is that door?
This is that door.
This looks like it leads to the Marrow or some. What? Yeah, this doesn't look like it leads to this area. Let's just
put the
take this and put this over here somewhere.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit of a later game area. And this door, man, wow. Wait!
Maybe since the
wait.
Maybe this is the Weaver then.
I know what this is, but I'm not gonna tell you yet. I'll tell you later.
Don't tell me later.
This is massive. This is so massive, but I'll tell you about it later.
Information we've known for 6 years and now it fucking clicks.
Crazy, dude. Right, so...
Yeah, we were at this. Yeah.
This could be here, could be down here.
I kind of doubt it since we got like... You know, we've got like these pillars in the one above.
Right. Wait, where did we say this is? Wait, we kept it in the Marrow. Because of these...
Yeah.
All this stuff. It's below something that is more built out. But here, below Shellwood doesn't really seem that built out.
Maybe a bit small to the right.
The thing is, you saying this gives us the dash ability would make a lot of sense for this area, because this looks like something that you should dash across. Just saying. Just saying.
Fair. We can keep it there.
Okay. And then the one I'm really conflicted about in this area is here, Grindle. Just chilling. This looks like it could be a very old part of below the Citadel somewhere. No clue, mate. No clue, mate. I just put it here because it has this dome. It's a very narrow path. Kind of fits a little bit, but there's no bones here. I think this is probably somewhere different.
It could be near Bellhart. It could be near the Gilded City.
Yeah, definitely. This is a poor part. Maybe this is the prison in the Gilded City.
Yeah.
Let's take this and put it here, which we'll get at later. We'll look at the Hunter's March later because it's very interesting. We'll look at Deep Docks after Shellwood because Deep Docks is crazy. But let's get over Shellwood first. So Shellwood is a chill area which has a lot of spiky, pointy things. And a lot of water, right? You can see water in this screenshot. There's water there, there. And Stizzle told me something very interesting in the first part of this video, which you should again watch if you haven't. These things look very much like the bells of Bellhart. So it's very likely that this is right outside of Bellhart. And then we would have to put this somewhere like here. And this has to be a very high room with a high ceiling that also has water. And this is the only other room, except for maybe this one. Could be up there that has that, but this looks like it has a lot of civilization nearby because these platforms look built out. Actually, this looks more like a room that would have an elevator. This looks more like, but then again, let's look at these platforms. No, these platforms are very similar to this one, and this must be near civilization. The city is right there. Let's take a look at this. This platform is less built or much older, so it makes sense it would be further from the city. But this one is very interesting. We talked about this a lot in the last video. It definitely is in the Shellwood area because first of all we have these spiky vines, right, which we can see in the background, like here for instance, right. It also has these vines hanging from above that are also all over Shellwood. And what's really interesting though is the ground and the walls resemble the Marrow. Right, we have this more brittle flooring, and so we're thinking this is somewhere between the Marrow and the and Shellwood, and this right here would make a ton of sense for that area. Right, there's a small little chapel of some sorts,
or some kind of den.
Yeah, maybe, and maybe there's these shrines built in it. Maybe they have awakened something from the forest or the foliage, and this is what grew out of that, this monster.
The guess is basically either here between Shellwood and Marrow, or also another possibility would be Farfields.
Farfields all the way over here.
It is hard here because you don't have a lot of space here. You don't have a lot of space for that.
It could be, because look at this ground. This looks quite a bit like it, and this wall also looks quite a bit like it. You know what? Now that I see that, this looks exactly like it. Okay, we're placing this. We're putting this in Farfields. All right, this lives somewhere here. We'll place it properly later.
Yeah.
Okay, boss has been moved.
Okay.
So this is Shellwood, and then we go over to... sure, let's do Bellhart first. Bellhart had a super interesting evolution from... This is one of the old screenshots, what it used to look like. It now looks much different. We discussed that in the other video. As you can see, it has a lot of bells, hence the name. Yeah, it goes
we can
quite
pinpoint these two locations. And the one with the Bell Beast...
You told me you know exactly where this is, so where is this?
This feels like it should be in the underbelly. So basically just below.
The underbelly. Okay, because there's bells at the bottom and at the top. And this is very interesting on the map. There must be some place that leads into Bellhart or something. Must be a secret passage.
Yeah.
And then this is somewhere completely different. And let's move this. Moving on to Greymore. This, actually, we said, is probably not in Greymore, the Huntress.
Yeah.
Because we probably meet her earlier. If she was in Greymore, she'd definitely be here. But assuming that she's already in the Marrow, I think she should be either in this room or like right here, because behind this bench, there's another pin of some sorts.
And the Huntress is gonna be this game's version of the Hunter. So we're gonna get the compendium. It's gonna be able to kill enemies and then get like descriptions from them. And they're gonna give that out quite early. In Hollow Knight it was the second area. That's why we believe it to be the second area here as well. Because you don't want to go like 7 hours without having the compendium.
Exactly. Now for the other stuff here in Greymore. We have this guy who is beefy as hell. But it looks like he's in some sort of sewage system, some place underground. That's why we put him this low. He also has these spikes coming out of, well, whatever he's wearing. And we see these spikes many times in Greymore.
Yeah.
These are not the exact same, but for instance, over here, these are the exact same spikes, as you can see up top there. So this is definitely the same general area. This here is halfway home, the city. I believe it's called halfway home because it's halfway to the Citadel, right? As you can see, not Citadel, and this is Citadel.
Apparently also, because some people mentioned in my comments, a halfway home is also a home, a temporary home, I think, for ex-convicts, so people who were in jail. So it could also be a different thing.
Oh, you know what? Astrum looks like he's been in jail.
Yeah,
and so is this guy.
Sure.
By the way, very funny, or very, very cool detail. This and this are definitely the same room. Because if you take a look at this platform, this is the exact same platform. This is the exact same bamboo sticks sticking out of it as this one. And this thing in the back is the same bamboo that's in the back of here.
Halfway home on one hand means, you know, people re-entering society.
Right.
After being imprisoned, or for example, substance abuse or mental health issues. You know, in Silksong and Hollow Knight, a lot of the people are not doing well.
Fair, so that's fair.
Yeah. And I think it's gonna be like a double entendre of like, oh, it's a halfway home because it will be around halfway to the Gilded City, I reckon.
I reckon that too. This thing, by the way, I put this near the halfway home, which is the main city, it would seem, in Greymore. Because it's just so decked out and decorated and built out, right? And there's also a bunch of people. But that's not necessarily indicative. This guy's also here. our favorite friend, who we then go on to fight this guy with, who I believe is in an area that's quite high up. Well, at least I believed that until Stizzle came and told me, hey, look at this. Know what this looks like? Looks like the bells from Bellhart. So this is probably right in this stretch to the right of Bellhart. And then you see these things?
Yes.
This looks like these things. It does. You got me again there, Stizzle. Good job. Oh, and
Wonderful.
2 other things we can't forget about. This guy looks very ominous. So he's probably in a later area of Greymore, who has this stick, a lot of sticks. We see a windmill in the background. And this is like a very big open field. So I put this somewhere higher up. This could entirely be one of these 2 massive buildings, whatever they may be. So technically it could also be down here.
But these 2 buildings could be 2 windmills that we go through.
Or 2 other kinds of towers. And right here, in a different screenshot, we see that this area is called Craw Lake. So, assuming that Craw is a reference to crows, this is probably the area where all the crows reside. Now, before we get into Farfields, let's go for the deep docks. This is, I think, one of the most interesting areas, which will have some of the most heated comments over, probably, because I think we've uncovered something big. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look. So this is an area that we've seen a ton of in a ton of trailers and demo gameplay footage. This is why I placed it at the very beginning of the deep docks.
I think we could be able to place it properly. If I would have watched the demo footage up and down, I could probably tell you with a certainty where it is.
Right.
I'm not sure anymore.
But it's also more fun if we just look at it now and try to figure it out. And then are completely wrong.
I would put it somewhere in the middle.
Right. It could also be, because there's so much fire behind it, just right in the middle somewhere. Maybe in this dome. How about that?
I think it's a closed off area to the right. Somewhere where we have to go into... Wait, maybe the one beneath what we say will be the Weaver ability room. There's like a room that could fit.
This? Oh, this?
This one, yeah. I think this one could be it.
This could be it. Then we have a bell, which is the bell that connects the deep docks to Farfields, and this bench. You know how on the bells there's always a bench? Yeah, that's why I put it there. And I'm pretty damn certain this is where it is.
Absolutely agree. Which means that the lace boss fight is just left to it.
Does that mean that? Yeah. You're right. I put it over here.
Which is very odd.
Okay, fair enough. This thing looks like there's not a lot of heat, not a lot of lava. That's why I put it very high up in the deep docks.
Yeah, makes sense. And it's also not part of the demo.
Could be right here, next to this ability gaining shrine thing.
Yes, somewhere northern parts of deep docks feels good here.
Right here, there's a bell, right, for the bell beast. There's a bench, so this might be a little bit more of a populated area. So I put our little friend over here. I think
the bell is maybe for merchant, for the rosaries. I think those are the rosaries, the currency.
You know what? Yes. There's a little bit of a resemblance.
Yeah, there's a tiny bit of resemblance.
Okay, so maybe that's just straight up tells us that he is here. But then what's the symbol for the stack station? Then this guy could be completely somewhere different. We'll keep him there for now.
Maybe the pins are kind of obscuring that on purpose. Like the pins that are on the map right now. There's a good chance that some of these are to fool us.
So if this means merchant, then he's definitely over there, right?
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay, let's take a look first at these 2 screenshots.
God.
These are very early game enemies, and they're above lava. They look like it's a very tall room, so I put them over there. Now I think we're going to do something very controversial, which is we're going to move this down here. Because, guys, there is this one area right here, okay, that is not fully explored. And I have the theory that below the deep docks, there still is the Forest of Bones that was cut from the original Hollow Knight.
Yes. Also, another thing hinting towards this is right to the left of you where the deep docks kind of ends.
Yeah.
Bottom left. You've got this weird thing here to the exact right of it. This one looks like a metallic door. Like one of these
kind of... You know what it looks like a little bit? This thing.
I'd say a bit different.
It is different, but what I was hinting at earlier is look at these spikes down here. They look a little bit like these.
Okay.
They're not exactly the same.
Not exactly.
But there's also a lot of bones over there, right? There's a lot of bones over there, and there's a lot of bones in here. So if this is not a secret passage to the Marrow, then below here, all of this might be the Forest of Bones. Dude, that would be so crazy.
It would be fun because like then underneath the Marrow, the Forest of Bones would be more barren and just bones. And underneath Deep Docks, there would be lava.
Right.
I think this could be it. And then we would have 3 different entrances.
That would be so crazy. That would be so crazy.
A huge area.
That would be like below here and here, all the way stretching out to here, which we'll get into in a second. That would be so big. That would be so big. Because, alright, let's get into the screenshots here. So this looks like an early area in the Forest of Bones, if it exists. And the reason I put this as Forest of Bones as opposed to Deep Docks is because there's a lot of bones that you walk on and platform on. So this is where you ascend with a lot of these breakable platforms.
Ah, yes.
And these platforms don't look anything like the stuff we see in the Deep Docks, right? The Deep Docks are a lot more fortified and all of that. This feels like a very, very late game thing of these platforms breaking and you having to climb it very quickly. What speaks against it is these enemies being rather looking very easy to defeat. Maybe it's at the entrance to the Deep Docks, somewhere over here.
Maybe it's just an example of like, okay, we can enter Forest of Bones kind of right away. Like pretty soon, but we get like a roadblock because we don't know how to swim in lava, for example.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't think we'll be able to swim in lava. That would be crazy.
I don't think so. But this conga line, I still love this. This is the same area, but they replaced this guy with conga.
Yeah. I don't know how far it will extend because I feel like if it were to go all the way, that would be a bit too crazy, right?
It
like
would.
All the way from.
But have you heard of Team Sherry? They are a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Aren't they? And then also this guy. Do you really think he's just sitting somewhere in the Deep Docks chilling?
Probably not.
Maybe if some part of the Deep Docks is locked off, all of this could be in the Deep Docks still, right? That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
It could be here that you ascend in lava and down here somewhere. This is where this massive golem is hiding. Totally possible.
Then again, Deep Docks, you know, they were talking about the Forest of Bones so much during Hollow Knight's development.
Yeah.
And to be like, oh yeah, and now it's kind of this... It grew into Deep Docks, which is a medium-sized area at most, and the Forest of Bones part, the bonesy part.
Why didn't they call
like
it? Why didn't they call it the Forest of Bones? Why did they change it to Deep Docks if it doesn't exist anymore? Is my question to all of you guys. And then this is just super crazy, climbing up while the lava's rising. It's a very late game thing. Also with these massive doom. I think that's somewhere like maybe over here, and then you climb back up into this. Also, look at this. There's a little bit of grass that's only there in the newest version of these screenshots, and that suggests that this is somewhat close to the Farfields, which would mean it's either somewhere here or it's somewhere in here, right? Like maybe this is this massive room with this guy, and then there's this foliage that leads to out here. Possible. But I want to believe. I'm a believer today that this makes no sense to this. There's probably no Forest of Bones. I want it to be a Forest of Bones. Please, Team Cherry.
I want it to be a Forest of Bones.
If you didn't already, take what I say in this video and just make the Forest of Bones real quick.
Also, there's this one thing in Farfields. It's on the map.
I think we discussed everything in here, so let's move over to the Farfields, right?
There's this one thing, this orby round thing, where you got the 3 screenshots underneath. Looks kind of like a tiny bit like the heads of the robot, but not enough.
No. I think I know exactly what this is. In the last video, I told you I could definitively prove that these 3 things are in Farfields. The proof is this thing, this orb. Because this orb is this orb in there.
Ah, you think so?
You see that?
Okay.
This used to be closed off, but now it's like, it's open. And this is this big arena where you first fight some smaller enemies and then you fight this big guy.
Okay.
That is my theory.
A game theory.
A game theory.
I can see that. Again, we've got these kind of 3 enemies, or like 3 screenshots, that are very much not like the rest of the Farfields, but would be a sub-area in the Farfields. For example, like this could be another Grand Hunt, for example. Killing the bug at the end, the big one.
I'm thinking in general that the Farfields is split into 2 areas. Like this is early Farfields, right? Up to Pilgrim's Rest, where you have just this, where first of all this shows lava, so this is where you come out of the deep docks. You have this massive vent that leads up very, very high, all the way up to Greymore at some point. And then you have this area which is quite peaceful, and also look at the statue in the back.
Kind of chill. Yeah.
Look at this statue in the back.
They're very similar. Like in one screenshot, it's literally the same.
Over here. You see that?
Yeah, in this one. Yeah, this one is the exact same one as the left one on the.
That would suggest actually that this guy is all the way over to the right here. Could be up here somewhere. It makes sense that he's in a more challenging area because it looks challenging.
Yeah, this one looks tough.
Over here.
I'm also very interested in Pilgrim's Rest because we have not seen that one at all.
True.
And also I'm interested in that one bench that's just in the middle of this room.
Massive swamp lake.
Like, what is that? Farfields, one of the more mysterious areas from the ones that we have seen quite a bit of.
And now let's take a look at Hunter's March. I purposely not spoken about this yet because we completely changed what this may be during the last video. I originally thought this might be in Hunter's March because it fits the color scheme, and you know it has these ovens that are seemingly powered by the steam from the deep docks. However, based on this cultist right here, which seems like an enemy that you would definitely find in the Citadel, and also these a lot of bells, these signs on the carpet, this makes us think that this is somewhere over here, which we'll discuss later. And instead, we'll just quickly build this out and then we'll let you know what we think. Alright, so what we think is actually in the Hunter's March is this tribal jungle area. Let's start here from the left. So we think that this guy is I think he's a mini-boss. Stizzle says he's just a regular enemy, but we see him twice. That's what we know for sure. Once here and once here. And I think he's a great introduction to the Hunter's March area. And this seems like a very easy place to fight him in. And then we move on over. We have these small deers, maybe, in the tall grass. And the reason I think this room is because of these, what do you call them? Rings?
Ring.
I guess.
On poles, yeah.
And the thing is, we've seen in the trailer that Hornet can latch onto these rings and then jump to the next ring. And I believe that this is what soft locks us out of this area, because at the start of the game we won't have the necessary ability to climb up and get into the main meat of the Hunter's March. Up here we find some settlements of these ants that get more concentrated and more difficult in this fighting room over here. And then once we get to here, we come out of here, and it's at this bridge where we fight him again with a small lackey of his. And this is the long bony path to the main Hunter's March area. First of all, there's just this guy chilling. Seems to be a little bit out of the way.
Could also be outside of the Hunter's March,
but it is here-ish. Maybe he's here.
Yeah, it could be.
The thing is, there's so much overgrowth that it can't be over here, because what's over here, Stizzle?
Over here we do have the Colosseum, as we call it for now, like the fighting arena with like Hunter Queen Carmelita, which is why this is called the Hunter's March. I think it's very much a situation of, oh, if you get to this place, then you're allowed to compete against the Queen because you have done the Hunter's March.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, and this is the thing we're probably the most sure about in this area.
Earlier you told me that this thing resembles Carmelita in some way.
Yes, especially there's this from the Silksong press kit.
I don't see
Let
it.
me just,
I don't really see it.
I'm gonna send you the PNG. Yeah, this checks out. Do you see where I'm going with this?
So you're saying this is the same? Yeah, it's kind of.
It would be crazy if I'm right.
That's
a shot in the dark.
That's a crazy shot in the dark. I thought it was like some sort of totem of Shovel Knight or something. But yeah, it does line up from the pose. That would be really wild. But yeah, that's it for the
It used to be
Hunter's
just
March.
a very small area, by the way. Just a small pathway, but I kind of
That's
liked it. It had so much variety.
By the way, we added some more stuff to Greymore here because we put some pictures from elsewhere, and now we believe that this is actually down here in a dark and far out of the way area with these creepy little guys.
Yeah.
And this is actually up here in an area that we get to much later only, because well, as we can see, we already have this thing which we presumably unlock in the clock tower, which is very high up in the game. Past the Gilded City is where we get this crest, presumably. So this area is probably locked off in the first part of the game. And this is actually down here and not up there. And instead, this is a tower, maybe one of the windmills. And on the outside here, we see this very small sign leading to Bellhart, which is how we know that this is right here. By the way, let's take another look at this sign. Then let's take a look at these houses. That checks out. And then we have a sign leading to a bell. And then the bell could either be somewhere to the right here in this area. Actually, this is not a city down here. They placed something over this to probably hide something. There's clearly something under there, right?
Oh,
because these are hollow.
Yeah, there's clearly something under there. True, I forgot that these are hollow.
Maybe that's why it's called Hollow Knight. I'm so sorry. We've been recording for 4 hours, guys. All right.
It's been a day.
And this is some sort of thing that locks you in. Maybe it's an elevator, but it doesn't really look like it. Whatever. We go inside here and we find Seth sitting there. I placed it there because there's a pathway to the right. And the reason we think Seth is there is because of these ribbons on the side, which is the same as these, which is the same as these. And in there you can see the inner workings of this tower as we climb higher and higher. And then because of all of these scissors that we found here, that we find in this screenshot, and also the bamboo on top and bottom, which is the same as in all of this general area. We have this up here. Do you want to say anything about this screenshot in particular?
This is probably the one, again, at the top of this bamboo area. And as we can see, or as it's very hard to make out, but it's definitely there actually, we can unlock a crest here by piercing this individual. And
it's not very nice.
The crest, yeah, it's not very nice of Hornet. And we can actually see the outline of the crest in how the light is projected. Taco is gonna give like a side-by-side with the Reaper crest, because that is what it exactly looks like.
This, you can see the spikes on the outline here. Right? And you can very faintly make out these eyes here on the side, like right there and right there, and also here the middle part of this below here, right? You can very faintly make that out. I'm not sure if you can actually see that on the video, but it is definitely there. And that's how we get the crests, by murdering people. Cool, now we get to the really juicy stuff. The stuff that isn't on the map yet. And we start up here, right? This area, which we've called the Coral Forest, we think this is below the Citadel, because these enemies look like mid-game. This looks like a mid-game boss, the guy we've dubbed Stefan.
Yeah.
And these look tough, but not crazy.
Not crazy tough, so I think, like, this is definitely an area they want us to go through. I feel like it's not hidden away. It's way too lush for that, right?
Right.
But this one, I do kind of feel like this is gonna be quite the extensive mid-game area. It does make sense if it's like near other watery-ish areas. Like, we've got a moor to the left, so maybe there's like a part where, for some reason, one part of the kingdom turns into a moor and turns like less vibrant, and the other part is still untouched by civilization or like by, let's say, the cult that's maybe interfering here.
And then the coral forest leads down to the well.
This is where the bullshitting starts.
This is where we just made shit up.
We just. So the thing is, we've got these screenshots of like this mini boss right here, and above it the caravan footage. And regarding its location on the map, I don't know, man.
But
I don't know.
Maybe like these pillars resemble the pillars here.
I guess
in Farfields. So this is an adjacent area, presumably. And then also we have the caravan. How do we know the caravan is in the same area? This looks nothing like it. If you take a very, very close look here, there's sand in here, in this room. And then there's also sand right here. Okay? Yes, we're making stuff up, but this is the best we could do for this one. And then below the well, okay, the coral forest drips down and makes the barnacles area.
Yeah.
This is so wild. Yeah.
So for some reason I feel quite strongly about the barnacles area being in the bottom right. Because it's gotta be at the bottom. And we already kind of know what's at the left side, because the Moscato is kind of more left, because that's where the kingdom kind of starts. That's where the entrance is. We have a lot until then. We have presumably the Forest of Bones. We have presumably Deep Docks. We do have Farfield, which is also quite far down. So there's not much place, and then there's only like place for one more area that could be that far down. So this is why we're going with barnacles.
And we called it barnacles because there's barnacles growing everywhere, as you can see. You can see it much better in this screenshot. There's barnacles here in the background everywhere, down here-ish. Actually, there's another screenshot.
Okay, and I think I actually found out what that one thing might be. That was in the silver pins, underneath the silver pins that are like hollowed out and stuff. That have like a thing in the middle. This one, Take a look at this. This is a screenshot from the newest trailer. To the right, we've got a little sign here with 3 dashes. And apparently, these signs are also in Deep Docks, above an area that will likely later be a fast travel point. So this could be the fast travel sign. And if we look at not only this one, because here we see one kind of arrow underneath this one, right? It's kind of one arrow. If we look at the map again and look at other ones like this, we also see the same kind of arrow situation going on.
I see.
But it's not the exact same. It's similar, but
it is the exact same. Look at this. Look at this.
I mean, it's the exact. Yeah, it's the same symbol, but the pins are not on the exact.
This is a different one. So they're hiding stuff from us.
Because that's tells us that it really is something.
Yeah, there's a fast travel point over here. Bro, we're finding so many things. This is crazy. Actually insane.
And I feel like that's very likely to be the case.
Yeah, Shellwood over here. Right there, actually. So this is here. Boom. Found it.
Boom.
Gotcha, Team Cherry. Let's go back over here. We have this city that's probably a little bit deeper into the barnacles, where only this one guy lives and maybe one other person. And this is the screenshot that shows very well the extent of the barnacles here. These look very sturdy enemies. Yeah, if we go over here, this also looks like the same kinds of barnacles, except they're now electrocuting Hornet for some reason. And
then we've got another area below it.
The abyss.
Abyss question.
Abyss.
Is it the abyss again? Is it the abyss again? Okay.
We know there's void in Silksong based on this trailer ending, where it played the sound of the abyss and the particles of the abyss were flowing. And this area looks like, well, it has very dark water already, and below this might be the abyss.
The abyss. Below this is the abyss.
What do you
because,
guys think?
If,
do we have it or
if
not?
there's void in Silksong, it's gonna be at the bottom. They're not gonna have it in a fucking house in the Gilded City and it's just, oh yeah, this is the void house. No, it's gotta be at the
Maybe.
bottom.
Imagine they actually have the void house. Cinema. Absolute
crazy.
cinema.
Yeah, so it's gotta be at the bottom, so this area makes the most sense, I feel like.
Alright, and then let's go back up to the top. We've talked about Stefan already. Now let's talk about this, leading up all the way into the Thorny Gardens, which is an area that is right before the Lace Arena. Why is it right before the Lace Arena?
Because we got these like white flowers and white flower petals. We see the white flowers in this screenshot. In the next screenshot,
Falling
we
down
actually have
here
the
as
Seth.
well.
Yeah, we've got the Seth fight again with the flower petals. Would be crazy to have 2 boss fights at once, but you know the area can be separate parts. You know, it doesn't have to be a singular path.
There could be also a bench in the middle somewhere.
And then we've got the Lace Arena with the second fight. Well, likely we think this is the elevator we will then take up into basically before the Gilded City.
That's right.
Then you can notice that what we've done here, and we've talked about it in the previous videos, that we think that the Gilded City is basically like the second half of the game, or at least the Citadel might be. But our kind of thought process is that even more so than the City of Tears, the Gilded City will be like a checkpoint where it's like, okay, now the second half of the game begins, and you got this huge ass city with like different parts to it, and then on top of it is the Citadel. Actually, the City of Tears is kind of similar because we do have like the Soul Sanctum as like a part of the city. So imagine that, but like 3 times as large and 3 times as complex.
Right, and we'll take a look at that in a bit. First of all, this is where we get into the Gilded City. You can see this. It looks to be the introduction with these vast buildings all around. Then as we get in, we have these ornaments on the walls. Remember those? We also have these gates in the background. Very similar style gates to this. And in the last video we already proved why this is in the same area as this. Also this thing is right above here. You can see these gates.
Very likely,
are here. It's not just very likely, it's 100%. It's 100%. It's the same gates. And in the old screenshot, we also saw these tops of the houses much more over here. And then we have the quest board, which is nice. And we also have Trobio, who lives in the Gilded City, who we fight over there. And then up and to the right, we have the Clock Tower, which is a mid to late game area that is going to be quite difficult because it has challenging platforming and ouchie inducing bugs that are made of metal, which presumably you can't even kill, you can just bounce on them maybe.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, chainsaws, not chainsaws, gears that move up and down that you have to parkour on. You have to parkour between these enemies. Okay, so you can damage them, but maybe you can't kill them. You can just hook onto them.
Maybe it's like the wings molds in Hollow Knight.
Exactly, because then you wouldn't be able to get back up if you kill them. And then we have a boss fight at the top, after which we may find this bell.
Be a bell.
This could also be in a
completely
completely different area.
Because these candles, they do have like these very unique candle holders. Like they swing, they have like these swingy lines. So it's very hard to pinpoint these. Could be a different part.
The candles are like the ones in Greymore, right? The bells are like the ones in what's it called? Bellhart?
Bellhart.
And then the general design of the area looks very decorative, like in the Gilded City.
Gilded City. So it could be. This could be anywhere.
This is a tough one. We just put it here. If we're right, this is. We should play it in the lottery. This is very tough. And then afterwards,
if we're right, Silksong belongs to us.
Exactly.
Our game now. If this one's correct, this one. Yeah.
And then after this, presumably we find the elevator that crashes down. The elevator could be anywhere else in the Gilded City, but it is most likely in the Gilded City. And then once it crashes very far down to here. And what can you see here, Stizzle? What screams out at you?
We can see a lot of webs here.
Exactly.
A lot of strings, and that is gonna be where we find
the Weaver's Den.
The Weaver's Den, or a Weaver's Den. It's likely an area that, at least at one point, was inhabited by weavers. And we do have another section here with a lot of webs.
That's right.
With like what I assume to be, or what we assume to be, like a fake weaver. Like one that kind of stayed behind it is a cultist, because, sorry, but that just doesn't look like a proper weaver. Also
like
the way
he's wearing a fake...
Yeah.
Like
reminds
when
me
you
anyway.
At Halloween, like when you're trying to have a ghost costume. That's what this looks like. But yeah, you said it's a fake weaver. I think it's a real weaver, but we'll see when the game comes out. It's not really relevant to where this is located. But yeah, we do see that there's a bell over the... Okay, you know what? I'm removing this bell. Doesn't make sense for that to be right one. But maybe this is much deeper into the Weaver's Den area. We haven't seen much of it. And then also we have this place where we get a new ability within the Weaver's Den, which obviously is spun into a lot of silk.
And the thing about these areas is that we don't want to be like, oh, we 100% can pinpoint them, because we don't even have the respective other locations. But what we want to do is be able to be like, okay, this is an area that's past the entrance of the Gilded City.
Right, exactly.
I think what we're going to see a lot of is that the start of Hollow Knight Silksong will be a lot more barren, a lot more nature-based, with a lot more towns that are like small and kind of simple. And then the Gilded City is all about bravado and all about like pompous, posh architecture. And that's how we kind of try and pinpoint all of these locations to be on the top half of the Map of Pharloom.
That's right. Also, one thing I forgot to say is that we have a lot of these bells over here. And this looks very much cult-like. We see the cult symbol right in here.
Oh, yeah.
We discussed why this is the cult symbol in the previous video. It's super interesting. Again, check that out. Yeah, and now let's move on to the Gilded City once again. To the left of the Gilded City, we again have a lot of this gold and these ornaments all around. And down here is presumably the prison of the Citadel. Why do we think this is the Citadel? Look at this particular thing. It's the exact same as this right here, right? These corners look the exact same. And this is clearly a prison because there's cells and there's Grindel who stole a bunch of goods. And now he's trapped. And we can hopefully free him in the game.
Again, the prison, we think it's in the Gilded City because that's the biggest city. And the biggest city might be the only place to have a prison, so it makes sense. Moving on to the other screenshots here. So this is where we kind of move up. You can see in the back the houses.
Yes.
You start seeing the roofs of them. You start being on like higher elevated platforms. And then at the very top, at this one, we actually see that we are basically on the roofs. Which is probably jumping from roof to roof.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we then believe we will get to the entrance of the Citadel, which basically looms over the whole city. It's built on top of it. And we believe that we have not seen a lot of the Citadel.
Oh, sorry, this is actually in the Citadel. I'm just moving this up.
Yeah. But we have one more guess. Our current guess, based on the name, is that the last judge is the last judge that judges you, the Pilgrim, before you may enter the Citadel. And of course, Hornet will not meet the criteria because she's not part of the cult. And the reason why we think this is because A, it would be very fitting as a role for a boss.
Mm-hmm.
And B, as we have seen in the previous video, we do have these bollards in these screenshots.
These bollards.
Which are...
Feels like we're playing GeoGuessr here.
Yeah.
But
which are the exact same as,
these are the same as in
the
here.
cutscene. And now, of course, the cutscene doesn't have to be in front of the Citadel.
But it has to be next to the last judge area.
Presumably
after we beat the last judge.
For that. Yeah.
Yes.
It would be fitting to have a cutscene before we enter the Citadel, as opposed to the other option, which would be that the last judge is in the dusty vacant vault that is mentioned in one of the blog posts from 2019.
We know the last judge is before a major breakthrough in the story, and either it's right before the main part of the Citadel, or it's right before the Gilded City. But we're thinking places before the Gilded City, so that part is already taken.
Yeah.
And then to the left of this whole ordeal, we have the Belforge, which is located right above the deep docks, and using the steam from the deep docks to forge all of the bells.
Of course, all of the machinations that are happening will be distributed through the Citadel and Gilded City, but it has to get up there somehow.
Right.
And the deep docks is where all of these things are first melted, basically, or like mined. So it has to go up in kind of I assume, a straight line, and somewhere along this line we expect this maybe little sub area to be
along
like somewhere above Greymore.
line.
Yeah, it could be right above Greymore and still outside, or like below the Gilded City, or it could be already in the Gilded City.
I think it's in the Gilded City because this is a cultist, and he looks like a very deadly cultist. Yeah. So a little bit mid to later area in the Citadel.
Yeah.
By the way,
Western Gilded City.
This all is Citadel, and this all is not Citadel. Because of
like
one of
Gilded
the
City
quotes,
Citadel, yeah.
One of the quotes that we read in the last video suggested that this is just the first half of the game until you get to the Citadel, and in the Citadel you have an entire second half of the game. So we know very little of the areas within the Citadel, presumably. Again, some of this could be in the Citadel. We don't know yet.
Or like within the Gilded City, I guess, and then the Citadel is on top of that and another large thing. I really look forward to seeing how large the Gilded City and the Citadel are each, because it's gonna be crazy.
The initial hook is to get to the Citadel, which is at the top of the world, and then the next is get to the top of the Citadel. So that's why I'm keep referring to it as the Citadel, this half of the game, and this is the not Citadel. Let's go on to the next area. In the Citadel, we have this, which is a super interesting place, which we already heavily discussed in the last video, so we won't go into this again. But one thing is we can see a vault tender in the background here. So this must be near the vault, or one of the vaults. And up here is some of the most challenging fights that we'll face up in the top of the Citadel.
And we can also see the architecture looks a bit different. It's a bit less goldeny and reddy and blackish, and more goes into a more like faded and silvery almost part, and a lot more like steel and metally. Because the floor actually changes, and floor changes, texture changes are always a great indicator of where an area is. And these fights look tough, so that's why we put them at the very top in the Shining Citadel.
That's right. It has also so many of these symbols of the cult, which is another indicator. Now above this, Path of Pain 2. This doesn't fit at all for the color scheme. This is probably somewhere completely different, but this looks like a hell of a tough area with these platforms that are falling and then breaking, and these look even worse saw blades than the ones in the White Palace. Like they would hurt you even more if you touch them. And then for the final area, we got Stizzle's home, Austria.
Oh yeah.
Somewhere very far
got
up and to the left.
Yeah, we've got an icy area, top left of the map basically, because we do only have these slopes into this one direction.
And up these gondolas, and then we go skiing. Alright.
That one than the Path of Pain one, because just to 1 minute on the Path of Pain one, again, this one can be anywhere. It's kind of factory-y. It's kind of like a waste disposal area-ish, but that could be anywhere. Since it is a bit more...
Could be in the well.
And mechanical could be in the well. Could be anything's in the well.
Anything's in the well.
Since it is a bit more mechanical, somewhere in the Gilded City or Citadel would kind of make sense, but this can be anywhere in reality. But yeah, the main part of this is not to be 100% accurate. It is to try to be 100% accurate, and if something turns out to be right, we can be very happy. And if it doesn't turn out to be right, we really don't care.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our final map. Do please let us know in the comments what you think. This is a very long video. We've been recording for over 2 hours. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, subscribe so we can beat Stizzle and have a giveaway of 10 whole copies of Silksong for you guys. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Taco and Stizzle out.